We're living longer than ever before.
I love to swim. It makes me feel young. It makes me feel good.
But how many of those years are going to be enjoyed in good health?
We can tell you what your epigenetic clock says.
Humans are natural connectors. That's why it makes them happy.
On today's show, Unlocking Longevity. According to the American National Institutes of Health, our average lifespan has increased by 3 decades since the mid-20th century. But what about our health span? It's one thing to live longer, but how do we assure those extra years are lived happily and in optimal health? That is the million-dollar question. To find out, we're going to visit experts who have studied longevity from every angle, from genetics to diet to happiness. Our first guest is John Halliwell. He's a co-author of the UN World Happiness Report and a world-renowned expert on the link between happiness and longevity. We were lucky enough to visit him at his home on Hornby Island. So nice to meet you, John. Carmen, a pleasure. What a beautiful place.
It's a happy place to return, and you find grandchildren now trying to find a place on the island that was an important part of their lives as they grew up.
I can see you've got this happiness thing down pat.
I wish I did. In my high school annual in the first year, it said, "The younger of the Halliwells is he, good humor on his face you'll see."
How long have you been studying the happiness of the world?
It was towards the end of the 90s that I got into it. It turns out to be almost everything. You think of, I mean, people study it on the negative side about what does anxiety do to your heart, to your lungs, to your digestive tract, to almost everything. Well, flip it on its head. And creation of happiness is quite different from the absence of anxiety. You've got past that. You're now building something positive. And actually the positive parts are even more important than getting rid of the negative parts.
What are your top findings that anybody can hear and at least say, well, I can do that?
The dominant thing we have come up with time and time again is social connections. Not just organizations you belong to, a number of people you know, but the warmth of those connections and the fun you get out of them.
John says that while he studies happiness, his wife Millie lives it.
Do it so we don't see your tummy.
She was a little magnet of happiness everywhere she went. So any of the regular shopping areas and so on, she knows everybody.
Yeah.
And they're all her friends.
Yeah.
And so
she
lights
community
up their lives, and of course it enlivens her life too. I always thought that was something that was special to her.
Yeah.
It is special to her,
yeah.
But it turns out everybody can do it. One of the things I've gone back to and studied more is this phenomenon of people getting happier as they were getting older, and that they begin to shrug off the prevailing negativity bias. That's the thing that essentially blights the world at the moment. People pay more attention to bad news, they remember it more, and they spread it more. So it means inevitably people have a too pessimistic view about the goodwill that surrounds them. But what's special to older people is to know that this positivity effect is real. In fact, they get better at remembering the positive things, and that of course makes them happier. Not just makes them happier, but it makes them more inclined to reach out for others.
So it looks like you're actually living all the lessons that you have learned through your many years of study.
At least I've altered my behavior and lifestyle a certain amount since then, recognizing if you've got your eyes on the screen and the pen all the time, you're ignoring the people who make life real for you and for others. So I'm much more open. Focusing your life more on the people you meet in daily life and go out and make connections with them. Find out about their lives. It's enormously enriching. I never advise people to seek happiness. I say, don't seek happiness. That's not the way to find happiness. Do good things for others, and happiness will be a bonus you get out of it.
John and Millie have that happiness thing figured out, and we've seen what happiness can do to our bodies. But is there a way to measure it? One researcher believes he can.
We take phenomena that we see in society and we try to understand by which these are reflected in your biology.
We're on a mission to learn how we can live longer, healthier lives. Dan Buettner's 2008 book, The Blue Zone, explored how people in 5 regions of the planet seem to have cracked longevity. But can we see how blue zone living affects us beneath the skin? Professor Michael Kabor believes he can. He is an epigeneticist and director of the Edwin S.H. Leong Center for Healthy Aging at UBC. We visited him at his lab to find out how our environment affects our cells.
What do you think is the biggest risk factor for all age-related diseases? Aging itself.
That's a trick question.
So what the center is trying to do is trying to look at this from what we call a society to cell lens, which is we take phenomena that we see in society. So for example, these well-known blue zones, and we try to understand the various steps by which these are reflected in your biology.
Let's just start basics. What is epigenetics?
I like to think of epigenetics really as the way by which our genes are regulated. For me, a gene is best envisioned as a light bulb. So for me, the epigenetics is actually the dimmer that sets the intensity of the light bulb. There are 25,000 light bulbs in each of our billions of cells, and these light bulb patterns corresponding dimmer switches can be quite different. These are now called epigenetic clock or epigenetic ages. We all have our chronological age, that's more or less known. Yeah. And now we can then run these dimmer switch little tools, and 3 days later, after bits of computing, we can tell you what your epigenetic clock says. The really cool thing is that to some extent they can be affected by the environment. We do everything in-house, takes DNA and puts it through various processes, and then puts the DNA at the end onto some little array, and then we can read out all these dimmer switches from all of your cells, and we can use that information then to compute your epigenetic age. This is for you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, a nice souvenir. Oh, it's heavy. Thank you.
So we can read epigenetics for 8 different people from here, and then we compute this against your chronological age, and there are these various epigenetic ages.
So this is like my birthday.
That's your birthday.
And this is what's really going on inside my body.
Exactly. Some people, who have the rough life, their epigenetic age is higher than their chronological age. Other folks might be epigenetically younger. We were lucky enough to do these epigenetic profiles and epigenetic clocks in roughly 1,600 of the Canadian longitudinal study of aging participants. But what I can tell you is that actually compared to blue zoners, we don't look very bad. So you see the red are blue zones, blue are different controls within the blue zones, and the green are the Canadians.
Pretty much even.
Pretty much even. So Canada as a whole, it's good.
Can you give us a synopsis of what environments are proactive for our aging and what are the negatives?
There are the obvious things, right? Eat well, exercise, sleep well, having social connectivity, and then really waking up with a purpose.
It sounds like you're studying what some of the old wives' tales would say. Don't drink too much, don't smoke too much, don't be too stressed out. So these things have always been known, it seems, but now you're putting proof to those warnings.
To some extent, yes, they're sort of reflecting and just bringing modern biology to what's kind of known for a long time, right? It's one thing to extend longevity. But what's really, for us, more important is to close the gap between the health span and the lifespan.
We may not be able to turn back our epigenetic clocks, but we can certainly make every effort to live our best lives moving forward. Coming up next, a centenarian that's smashing records in the pool. But first, our regular segment with Chef Julian Bond. He's back in the kitchen cooking healthy, affordable, and Zoomer-friendly recipes.
Hi everybody, welcome to Granville Island here in the heart of Vancouver. One of the busiest food markets in North America, but it's also one of the best. Sweet potatoes, yams, sweet potatoes, it's confusing. Normally when you think of a sweet potato, you should look for that lovely white flesh. And when you're looking for a yam, it's a little darker. There you can see the difference. That's the most simplest thing. The thing to remember, sweet potatoes are a lot more nutritious than a yam. So I'm gonna take this sweet potato, I'm going to slice it, I'm gonna roast it, serve it with some crispy chickpeas. Let's go in the kitchen. We have to start thinking, how can I live longer? What am I gonna put inside my body that my body is gonna love? And the answer to that is, keep it vegetarian. This is just a regular can of chickpeas. I'm gonna a little baking sheet, parchment paper, olive oil, and I'm gonna season them when they come out of the oven, and I'm gonna cook them for about 35 minutes. And they're gonna go nice and crispy and add a crunch to our dish. So the trick to cooking this dish when you have your sweet potatoes is you can cut them by knife and be very careful, but it does need even slices. Olive oil and our garlic on the microplane. Just microplane the garlic right in there. This is fresh sage from my garden. And I'm gonna rough chop it, not a lot. Sage is quite powerful. And into that, it's just a simple sliced pepper. And I want to rub that olive oil and the garlic in between each slice of potato. We're just gonna go inside our dish and build it up. And I'm gonna cover these with parchment paper and tin foil. You don't want to cover directly with tin foil because the tin foil will react with the sweet potato. Take your parchment paper, fold it in half. Fold it in half again. Fold it in half again. To the center, you make a line. So the sweet potatoes I'm going to put in the oven for 15 minutes, covered, nice and tight. After 15 minutes, bring it out of the oven, unwrap the tin foil, put it back in the oven so the tops of the sweet potatoes can caramelize. Our sweet potatoes are hot, red peppers are cooked, and you can smell that garlic permeating through with the olive oil. Our chickpeas, can you hear them, are all crispy? That's perfect. We're going to add something that's lacto fermented. And this is pickled watermelon rind. And that pickled watermelon rind goes really well with the sweet potato. That little bit of acidity just blends the two together to make this awesome dish. Enjoy.
We're on a quest to unlock longevity. We've seen how science is helping us understand the building blocks of a longer, healthier life. But who better to tell us about longevity than a woman who's living it? Betty Brussel is not only a centenarian, but she's also a world record-holding swimmer. Videographer Dean Atwell has her story.
I'm just a happy person. Nobody goes through life without getting troubles and stuff, but you always have to look at what you have left, and usually it's worth it.
In a world where age often becomes a barrier, one remarkable woman is proving that it's never too late to make a splash. Centurion Betty Brussel is not only breaking world records in swimming, but inspiring countless hearts.
I grew up with 7 brothers and 2 sisters. 4 sisters, and I was number 2nd, so I had to do a lot of chores. But we are a very loving family, and we are still very close. I swam in the canals when growing up, and we just taught ourselves to swim because I love to swim. It makes me feel young, it makes me feel good. Keep me going.
This woman has stamina. I'm just flashing all cash, nothing. But she's incredible.
It's certainly great that she sets world records, but I feel like the positive attitude that she always displays at the meets and her willingness to kind of give everybody a little bit of encouragement and a hug, that's probably what people like the most. And I think we're impressed that she keeps going. She gets up on the diving blocks, she dives off. They're quite high, and some of our newer members feel like maybe they couldn't do that. But when we watch Betty, we know, well, if she can, we can too.
When I first started swimming here, she came over and said, no, you can't swim like that. So she taught me how to swim. She's an inspiration.
Betty's message is simple, yet profound. You're never too old to learn, to inspire, or to dream. Dean Atwell with a Zoomer.
Betty is incredible. At 100 years old, and she's still smashing records. Talk about your health span matching your lifespan. Technology, too, is knocking on longevity's door. Videographer Darren Maharaj has more.
Breaking longevity news out of Israel. For the first time in history, scientists believe they've actually found a way to reverse aging, and the fountain of youth may come in the form of a hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
Recently, a first of its kind study just came out with regard to the effects of hyperbaric oxygen therapy on reversing some of the processes that happen during aging. And the two main ones being the shortening of the chromosome, an arm of the chromosome, the telomere. And the telomere is really what helps regulate the replication and development of new DNA in each cell. And during the study itself, that was a 3-month study, telomere lengthened by up to 20% as part of the study results. And the other part of it, the study looked at was the senescent cells, near end-of-life cells. They're no longer functioning normally in the body, and that's part of what happens during aging too. Those cells just accumulate, and you end up with inflammation and other kinds of problems. The total number of those cells in the body were actually reduced significantly. It's important to point out that the people in the study were chosen because they were healthy, number one. Second point is they were not doing any other interventions.
What do you think people can expect as a result from the telomeres lengthening and the cells being diminished and so on?
Well, it's based on this study. I mean, this is the first study of its kind. I mean, people should be able to see improvements in their overall immune system and reversing of some of the changes that happen with aging in terms of your skin and function of your joints and all those kinds of things. But they haven't exactly looked at the specifics yet in terms of those types of things. How does that translate from the cell level to external changes? It's a big study that has gotten a lot of attention in terms of the fact that it's talking about aging and reversing aging. So we've had quite a bit of interest too from people, our local people who are calling us to ask about the study and to ask if we can actually do that protocol for them here.
And with news this big, we had to check in with Idea City veteran and world-renowned longevity expert, Dr. Aubrey de Grey.
The only way that we are going to live substantially longer in the future is by staying truly youthful for substantially longer, both mentally and physically.
So this is definitely an interesting, intriguing study. It's been done well. It's not nearly so amazing as you might think, but from reading the popular press on it. But still, it definitely demonstrates the need for further study of the impacts, the benefits of hyperbaric oxygen. There may be risks for some people. That's true of pretty much any treatment, but it's definitely worth continuing to explore.
Now, before you jump online and purchase a portable machine for your home, experts say those won't do the trick. What you need is a hard chamber machine like this one at a cost of around $150,000, technician and oxygen not included. The good news is that most therapy centers like this one will offer private sessions, and here in Canada, that tends to be cheaper than other countries. The bad news, that price is still around $200 for 75 minutes. You guys take credit, right? In Toronto, I'm Darren Maharaj for Zoomer News.
Well, that's just about it for the show. We'll be back soon to wrap things up. But first, a few words from Carpe President Rudy Boutignolle.
Hi, I'm Rudy, President of the Canadian Association of Retired Persons. Longevity. Well, one of the keys is winning the genetics lottery. But for the rest of us, it's about maintaining a healthy lifestyle. In the industrial era, the British philosopher Thomas Hobbes described life as nasty, brutish, and short. But we're living in a post-industrial era, where life after retirements can span 20 to 40 more years. And the key to maintaining a healthy lifestyle is social connection. I play hockey twice a week, as much for the fun and exercise as I do for the social connections, the chatter in the locker room before and after the game. There's lots of different ways for people to maintain healthy lifestyles. So the first thing to do is get off that couch. Go to our website, carpe.ca, and join our movement.
The pillars to a long and healthy life are not out of reach for most of us. We may need to change some habits, but the rewards will far outweigh the effort. It's not about having a long life, it's about having a good one. And that's the show. And remember, as our Carpe chairman Moses Neimer always says, the best way to keep going is to keep going. So, Carpe Diem and seize your day.